Hi there, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls. We have a tremendous wrestling card for you today here on All-Star Championship Wrestling, which, of course, features the world's greatest wrestlers.
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion, Brazil. The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I'm your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the best in Midwest professional wrestling, past and present. You're going to have to forgive me. You're going to have to excuse me. I got a sinus infection going on, so I'm very congested, very whatever. But I'm going to get through this, so bear with me. We got a great episode. Let's go over a few things, some housekeeping stuff before we get to all of our guests today. Remember, we are now partnering with PowerSlam.tv. They give you the best in independent wrestling streaming. There's apps available on your phones, on your TVs, on your smart TVs, on your laptops, your tablets, whatever. It's easy to access. There is over 100 promotions and over 4,000 hours of content on there. There's great stuff and a great representation of Midwest independent wrestling on there. And the best thing is, if you go to PowerSlam.tv, if you sign up for their service and you enter the promo code Dynasty, you get 1 month for free. So what do you got to lose? Go and check it out for 1 month. See what they have to offer. I promise you, you will love it. I've been watching it like crazy, catching up on some events I couldn't get to and I couldn't see. So do the same. Go to PowerSlam.tv, sign up, use the promo code Dynasty, get 1 month for free. Remember, there are some events coming up there in the Midwest. I'm just going to hit some highlights here. As always, there's independent professional wrestling out there all the time, especially on the weekends. And wherever you're from, whatever part of the world you are, there's almost always something happening within a drive. But especially in the Midwest, there's always stuff going on. Some highlights coming up this coming weekend on February 16th in Muncie, Indiana, Decatur County Championship Wrestling. I will be there in Muncie, Indiana for this event. I will be doing some stuff with the wrestlers, some interviews. I will be doing some live streaming, some recording, maybe for the podcast. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. All kinds of stuff. I'm just going to be there having a good time, enjoying the show, interacting with lots of people. I will kind of be hidden away doing some work, but I will mingle a little bit. So if you come to this event, say hi to me. Take a picture, put it on social media, tag the Dave Dynasty Show in it. We had some tickets to give away last week, and those things went quick. There was a great response for those. They're all gone. They're gone quick. So very happy to hook some people up with the tickets to that event. But you can still get general admission tickets. There's more information coming up in that because on this show, we have the ladies' man Mike King, who's a big proponent in this show in Muncie, Indiana. He'll give you all the information on how to get tickets and more information about the event and how it came to be. If you need anything in the meantime, you can always contact me. I will put you in touch with who you need to get in touch with or give you the information myself. I am helping Decatur County Championship Wrestling with their social media, some of their promotion of their event. I'm very glad to be part of this team. Very glad to be part of this event. I'm very excited to be up there in Muncie, Indiana. Me and Ike will both be there doing our thing. So make sure you come. It is selling quick. I'm telling you, this is going to be a great turnout, a great crowd, and a great show. So make sure you are there. Again, Decatur County Championship Wrestling, February 16th in Muncie, Indiana. The doors open at 6 p.m. The bell time is 7. Not only can you meet me, not only can you meet Mike King, but you can also see other guys like Bobo Brazil Jr., Vinny Vichetti, TJ Powers, and much, much more. Be there at that show and come and check it out. You can also check out on February 23rd in Danville, Indiana, New Generation Wrestling. And this is a cool event that is there to support the local Little League, get some new fields. So anyone who buys a pre-sale ticket for this event on February 23rd in Danville, Indiana, $1 off that ticket goes straight to the Little League for their field. So it's very cool. Go on Facebook, look up Ron Steven Kraft reach out to him. He'll hook you up with the tickets. You're going to get a great night of wrestling and help out a good cause. It's a win-win situation. If you are in that area of February 23rd, go to New Generation Wrestling in Danville, Indiana. Another event that I will be at, not directly a wrestling event per se, but in Chicago, Illinois, on March 22nd to 24th, I will be at C2E2. It is going to be a fun event, and there is a big presence of professional wrestling there. Not only is Jim Cornette and Jim Cornette Collectibles going to be there, they've just recently announced that the AEW's Young Bucks and Kenny Omega will be there. So if you're a fan of those guys, they'll be there for photo ops, etc. So get there March 22nd, 24th. And if you're going to be there, let me know. Maybe we can meet up, say hi, get a picture together, and all that stuff. Evolve Wrestling recently announced that on Saturday, May 11th, they are holding a show in Indianapolis, Indiana. Very cool. If you want to see Evolve, get there. Recently, I don't have the date actually, but recently also, I believe that same weekend, I think Ring of Honor is going to have a War of the Worlds show in Chicago. I believe it's on Sunday, May 12th. So a big weekend for wrestling in the Midwest there. And not only will those two shows be going on, but a show that I will be attending that is going to be a really great and fun show is down in Madison, Indiana on Saturday, May 11th. For Supreme Wrestling, a show featuring Jerry Lawler, Doug Gilbert, Jason Kincaid, and all your other favorite Supreme stars will be there. It is going to be a cool show. It's a chance to see Jerry Lawler here in Southern Indiana, South Central Southern Indiana. Doesn't happen a lot, right? The King doesn't come around here a lot, so you get to see him in this independent wrestling setting. And also on this show, there's some interesting stuff that's kind of happening here. There's an issue with Supreme Manager Mortimer Blankenship and YouTube travel vlogger Jacob the Carpetbagger. Now, a lot of you are probably familiar with Jacob. He's got some cool videos out there that you really need to check out. Look in the show notes. There's a link to his YouTube channel. But there's been an issue that's been brewing for a while between Jacob and Mortimer. And we have someone on here that is going to discuss this event and wants to talk and give their side of it. We have Jacob the Carpetbagger. Jacob, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very good. Well, first of all, before we're going to talk about some recent happenings, that's the reason it brought you to my show. I got to ask you the obvious question, though, for those of us that don't know, Jacob, what is a carpetbagger?
Well, a carpetbagger technically is a Civil War era insult for someone from the North who comes down to the South to profit. And kind of how that ties into who I am is I am from the Chicagoland area. I moved to North Carolina when I was 18. And kind of what I do for a living is I travel around different places, different interesting places, roadside attractions, museums, amusement parks, other random stuff. And you kind of started doing it in the southern part of the United States, but I've since expanded that to include pretty much the whole country.
Okay. Well, that brings us, you have, like you said, you do these videos. You have a very cool YouTube channel. Why don't you real quick, before we dive into this, why don't you real quick tell everybody how they can find you on YouTube? What do they need to look up? YouTube.com/The Carpetbagger, or just type The Carpetbagger into the search bar. Well, before we did this, I was watching some of your videos. It's some very, very cool stuff on there. I advise everybody to go out and check you out. But we're not really here to talk about your YouTube channel per se. Recently, you've had some issues with Indiana wrestling manager Mortimer Blankenship. So how did all this start with you and Morty?
Last year, I was invited as a special guest to Supreme Wrestling, with which Morty is associated with. Mortimer, for some reason, took issue with my participation in the event, which led to me taking on Leon Elliott as his manager and facing off against Eric Draven, one of Mortimer's proteges. And me and Leon were victorious that night, and I thought that was it. But then I noticed that Morty was walking around seemingly copying me with his mutton chops. My mutton chops are a very big part of my character, my intellectual property, and it has been stolen by this fanboy, Mortimer.
Yeah, and Morty was he's on my show a couple weeks ago, and he had some really unkind things to say about you. And you guys have been going back and forth online, and you headed to Madison to confront Morty. What's finally pushed you over the edge where you thought, I got to go to Madison and do this face to face?
Well, I sent him several messages, increasing in pressure, putting on him to shave off his mutton chops, and he decided to make a little joke about it and pretend like he was shaving them off. And it became clear to me that if I was going to get him to remove these mutton chops, I was going to have to head down to Indiana myself.
Yeah, and it's actually being announced that you are going to wrestle Morty. And it'll already be announced. Yes. By the time this show comes out, you'll be wrestling him on May 11th. What do you think about having to actually step in the ring and take care of this with fisticuffs? What do you think? Because it's been just this verbal thing for the most part. What do you think now that it actually has to come to the physical in the ring?
Well, I'm not a trained wrestler. I have not been trained in grappling, but I am a man of passion and a man of protects my individual property, a man that stands up for himself, and I'm pretty sure that this is not going to be a difficult step to take down Mortimer, who's pretty much 100% mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you talked about your mutton chops, and this match actually has the stipulation where the loser must shave their mutton chops, must save their sideburns. Are you at all worried that you're going to lose the trademark, the as you call it, part of your intellectual property? Are you concerned at all about what this might mean for your career?
Not at all. I say this is business that needs to be dealt with. Morty will have his mutton chops shaved. I will have my intellectual property back to myself, and then I will never have to step foot in Indiana again.
Well, you seem like a smart guy, Jacob, right? And you're obviously well traveled.
Okay.
Have you thought about? You mentioned Eric Draven and Roger Malcolm, custom made. Have you thought ahead about what if these two guys are very likely to stick their nose in if Morty needs it? Are you thinking ahead and planning this out? What would happen if these guys interfere?
Yes, I have. I will come with backup. I will make sure that my bases are covered. I've recently become associated with a wrestler, a 6-foot-tall, 437-pound giant by the name of Jacob Johns, the Midwest Monster.
Yeah, and is Jacob helping you prepare for Morty? Is he helping you train? Is he helping get you physically and mentally ready for what's to come?
Yeah. I'm using my various wrestling connections. I will be well prepared.
Well, that's going to be a very, very fun show. Not only you and Morty, but also it's very cool. There's going to be a real one-time kind of appearance by Jerry the King Lawler. I got to ask you, is there a chance that we could see the King show up in your YouTube show? Any plans there for you to interact with the King? Any?
I don't know. We'll see how things go. One of my personal heroes is Andy Kaufman, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I advise everybody to go out, like we talked about earlier, subscribe to Jacob's YouTube channel, because you don't know what's going to show up on his channel. He's got some cool stuff up there. Jacob, thank you for coming on. You got any final words for Mortimer Blankenship, before your big match on May 11th for Supreme Wrestling in Madison, Indiana?
Yeah, my only advice would be for Mortimer, if he wants to save himself the indignity, show up, shave your sideburns off before the match, put them in a plastic bag, and hand it to me in the ring, and you will save yourself the humiliation of having to deal with me.
There you go, Morty. You got your out. Jacob, thank you for coming on. I plan to be at that show, so hopefully I'll say hi. We'll get to see each other. Should be a fun show, May 11th, Supreme Wrestling in Madison, Indiana. Jacob the Carpetbagger versus Mortimer Blankenship. The loser must shave off their mutton chops. Make sure you be there. Jacob, thank you for coming on. We will talk to you soon to see you May 11th in Madison.
All right, thank you for having me.
If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com.
Welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today we are joined with none other than the ladies' Mike King. How are we doing today, Mike?
I'm not doing too bad. Ike, how are you doing?
Fantastic. Living the dream. A little bit sick, but still living the dream. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. So, Mike, tell us where you're from.
I was born in Kentucky, but originally Indiana.
So,
Yeah, Monday.
well, actually, I live in Montana. It's a little town. So what was your like? How was it growing up over yonder? And what did you play sports when you were growing up?
I did. I played a lot of sports growing up. Football, basketball. I was in wrestling. Went through Northside Middle School, Central High School. I know the school systems has changed a lot now in Muncie, and some schools aren't even there anymore. But childhood growing up, man, we were just a normal family. My mother was a veteran and retired from Ontario Corporation right here in Muncie, and my mother owned her own cleaning business. She had adapted from when she had lived in Kentucky. Her and her sister used their own cleaning business. Both myself and mom was born in Brells, Kentucky, and my father and my other two brothers were born here in Muncie, Indiana.
Oh, wow. Man, Muncie's a place, man, I'll tell you. It's a trip.
Yeah, a lot of things changed. A lot of things.
Yeah, because I'm not from around Muncie. I'm more southern Indiana. I was born and raised in Columbus. So moving to Muncie was a lot different. Because you're a little closer in Indianapolis, so you get a little bit. There's a lot more to do up here than there is in Columbus, which is weird to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyways, so you mentioned that you did some wrestling in high school and whatnot. Did you like professional wrestling growing up? Was that something that you and your family did, or is that sort of something you grew into at a later time?
I'm telling you, I love professional wrestling. I was able to get on TV and actually realize what was going on. My first professional wrestling show I ever watched was with my Uncle Russell, who has passed now. He was my father's brother. And he was the one, he is the guy I can thank for actually putting me in front of a TV and to watch professional wrestling, and it was WrestleMania 3. And just my memories going through that was always my uncle would, at the pay-per-views, we'd all go over to his house, and me and my cousins, Jason and Justin, would sit on the floor with him in his chair in the background, and we'd up and watch the pay-per-views, and my uncle was a big and wrestling, hoot and hollered like they're in the arena. It was awesome to sit there and watch with them.
Wow. And that's a good way to start WrestleMania 3. That's a heck of a WrestleMania to pick too. So that's a good introduction, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't ask for a better one.
That's right. So then obviously with that passion for wrestling, you eventually turn that into wanting to be a part of the business, and eventually taking that role of a wrestler. So tell us when you wanted to do.
Probably at the moment I watched WrestleMania 3. Ever since I started watching wrestling, man, I definitely knew that it was something I wanted to do, wanted to pursue, and try to go as far up the ranks as possible with professional wrestling. I was 15 years old, getting ready to turn 16. There was a little promotion I'm going to call it. Rusty Love was the promoter of the show, Rusty Love and Susie Music. And the guys like Boba Brazil, and Cousin Bubba, Dice Man Ronnie Vegas, guys like that were around doing these shows around that time. And they had a training facility in Eaton, Indiana, a wooden wrestling ring inside, barely big enough. It was a 16 by 16 wooden wrestling ring, and the building it was in was barely big enough to hold the wrestler. And I went to one of the shows and stayed after and offered to help tear down the ring and whatnot, like everybody should. And kind of the old school way of doing things. And I got to talking to some of the wrestlers, just
that I had watched that night and was talking to them, and they were like, well, if you ever get interested, we have a wrestling promotion or school up in Eaton, Indiana, maybe come up and check it out. And at that time, I was 15, I waited till I was 16 years old, and my father he didn't want me to do it at all. He actually was trying to pay the guys that was in the training league to get me to get out and not like us. He didn't want me to have a part of it, actually. So, funny enough, I took my first bump and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And from then on, I started training as a professional wrestler and started off actually reffing for the first year that I was in the business, which I think is a good way for anybody to get in the business because you absolutely learn a whole nother aspect to our business because refs can make or break your matches. So if you can learn how to help that ref along that's new to business while you're wrestling, then why not do it? Why not try to learn every aspect of your craft? That was a step for me. I loved it. I loved reffing. I had a good time reffing, and then I slowly transitioned into the ring, and I had a couple different gimmicks and whatnot. So, going through. But then the ladies' man, Mike King, really stuck with me.
Right. Absolutely. So, I guess to maybe go back a little bit with you here. So, you kind of mentioned this in passing, but obviously, like you said, you started out reffing, which I've definitely heard can improve your basically your appreciation for what's done in the ring, but also, like you said, it's a good stepping stone. So I've definitely heard that before. But what was your very first actual in-ring wrestling? Do you remember that?
The very first in-ring wrestling match was with IPW, and I did a military gimmick, and that was a hot thing back then. And I just had some extra BDU stuff like that. There was no Mike King, there was no nothing. It was just a simple military gimmick. And I was wrestling one of the other trainees that was at the school for our first match, and it was a rough one. I do remember that, but boy, was it fun to get up in front of everybody, in the front of our own community and our own people, and get up there and to be a completely different person and just have a great time.
Absolutely, that's pretty cool. First, like you said, I always hear the it's kind of a rough one. I always hear that with first matches.
Yeah, it's either you have a rough first match with another ring guy, or you had a rough first match because you had no idea what you were doing. One of the vets just had to take over and kind of work through the match and get it done over with.
Right. So I guess kind of another question, kind of in regards to your career overall, but and you'd actually mentioned this person already. But tell us about Dice Man Ronnie Vegas, and because he's, from what I've heard, he's been a pretty important part of your career. So tell us a little bit about the Dice Man.
Funny thing I'm going to start this off with is Dice Man absolutely hated my guts to begin with. He absolutely hated me. Wanted to whoop my ass, basically. I'm sorry if I can't say that, but that's exactly how he put it.
No, you say whatever you
So, I obviously Dice from his wrestling outfit circuit, and I watched him. And then when I started coming into things and whatnot, and then got with Rob Kincaid and Skip and hung out with them a little bit, and started changing my gimmick around a little bit, in which, what I was wearing was similar to what Dice was. And Bobo Brazil Jr., Jim, he decided to bring us down to one of his shows in Southern Indiana, and he said, hey, we're going to make the Father Team night. And I was okay with it. He's like, all right, whatever. He was been Dice in the locker room, whatever. I worked with the kids. And it was Dice Man Ron Vegas and Mikey Vegas. And we both shadowed that night in the main event in a tag match. And everything went out. We went out to Dice's music. We did a little promo. I tried to do an Italian accent, which was terrible because I'm just not an Italian guy. But I did it, tried it out. Dice was like, we got into the locker room, and Dice said, you know what? And he was like, yeah, you did good, kid. All right. The music's, we come out to is this music and whatnot. I started using that music. Well, some of the guys around us kept pounding them in the locker room. That kid's stealing your music. You gonna let the kid steal your music? So Dice called me one day on the phone. I remember this. I had worked a late shift overnight, and I woke up to a phone call, and it's Dice on the other line. I was like, oh, crap, what in the world Dice called me for? So I pick up the phone, and he's like, kid, if I ever hear you using my music again, blah, this and that, he goes, I'm going to find you. And he started going nuts. And I was like, where in the world did this come from? And Dice, I said, there's no disrespect. I said, do you not remember what you said in the locker room? I never said that, and this and that. And so Dice, when we first together had wrestlers in the business. And then it wasn't until Rob Page was putting on shows, Rob Skip was putting on shows under FEW, Frontier Elite Wrestling. And I was their champion. And they had a battle royal that they did every year. They always had a battle royal on Thanksgiving night. And they said, Mikey, we want you to do, the coast to coast. And I was like, all right, cool. And they were like, and then all the other, they had names in a hat, and they were going to pick out random names on who was going to come in what order. Right. Well, funny thing about it is Dyson then talked to them in to ribbon me, and they sent Dice out second. So I was number one, and Dice was number two. So Dice comes out to the ring, and as soon as he put one leg into the ropes, I attacked him right off the. Of course, he no-sold me. Right. He knows me better than any no-sold I've ever seen before. And he got me in the corner and gave me a couple shots and everything. But you know what? That man never tried to hurt me. He never tried to do anything to make me look bad besides the no-selling, right. Which was the rib anyway. But from that point on, me and Dice had always been on good terms. Now, Dice had moved to Anderson, Indiana, and was putting on shows and whatnot, and I got together and ran a couple shows with him. And through his shows and him being so close to where I lived, we started, communicating a lot more. He started getting me involved in a lot more shows. I to meet a lot of through Dice, like Animal, Barb, and Ward, and, Ming, and all them guys, Tracker Luke, and Kishi, and all them guys I got to meet through him because they respected and were friends with Dice and was very close with them through Dice's travels, through, bodybuilding, and through the wrestling business. And we have now you can say we're almost like a father-son in real life because we're so close. And I do thank him a lot for everything he has done for me and continues to do for me in this business.
And it's weird that you get on such great terms.
Right.
Oh, man, that's how the best relationships start.
Right.
You hate each other, but after a while, start to like a little bit.
Absolutely. Him and Bo are like dads to me in the business. They've done a lot for me. And I can't thank them enough for what they did. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. Starting off rough and then being like family now. But that's what this business does if you do it right. You create a lot of family members rather than just acquaintances.
No, absolutely. 100% agree. You can find a lot of great people in the business, and you can also find a lot of bad people, but definitely you can find a lot of great people.
Absolutely, yeah. There is some bad people in the business, that's for sure.
There's always a couple bad apples that travel in the bunch, but
right.
But we've talked about a lot, kind of bringing in the business, how Dyson played kind of a vital role, and kind of shaping version. But also, you recently are bringing pro wrestling to Muncie, Indiana, with Delaware County Championship Wrestling. What made you decide that now is the time to do that?
So I've always, ever since IPW, there was two wrestling promotions in Muncie back when I was growing up, and there was IPW, Rusty Love ran it, and then there was WWS, which Shadow ran. and they kind of did back and forth and, you know, had some good storylines, but then they also really hated each other, you know, at some point in times in their relationships. So I always told myself, I said, like, man, if they ever stop running, I would run into my hometown. He's always some of the greatest fans you'd work in front of because they're so loud, they're so involved, you want to be better at doing. So there was an opportunity that popped up, and I decided to jump right on board because there hadn't been a show in Muncie in 2.5 years. That was Rusty's last show. It was 2.5 years ago. He did a Haunted Havoc in an October show with Abyss and Boogeyman, which was an awesome show. I was a part of that show. I worked Bo Brazil Jr. in that show, and that show drew 400 people, standing room only, inside a little gym. Great show. I mean, Muncie just loves wrestling. It's a wrestling town. So I noticed that somebody was running a show a couple months ago. On the show, I was like, I've never heard of these people before. To be honest with you, I don't even want to use their initials because I don't even want to give them credit because of information I had found out. If you'd like me to talk about that information, I'll be more than happy to. But they were running a show.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's totally up to you. I was going to say, it's totally up to you. Don't want to make you talk about it, but hey, feel free to do it. If you got something to say, definitely say it.
Well, I mean, flat out, a guy that grew up across the street from me, his name's Terry Coons. This is not about Terry. Terry's actually a good guy, and he's actually my partner in Delaware County Championship Wrestling. But he is a great promoter of events, but knows nothing about wrestling business, like they're working with the wrestling business. Like, he can promote a show, but he wouldn't know how to book the show. So he's promoting. So one of his friends invited him to a show in Illinois. I think it was HHCW, or I believe is the actual letters for the promotion. I don't even know what the HHCW stands for. But it was out of Pulaski, Illinois. And he went and saw the show, talked to the promoter because he didn't realize, because when we lived across the street from each other's, he was my brother's ages. Right. And my brothers are 10 years difference from me. So I was a baby when he knew me. And he didn't realize that I was me, that I was king, that I've been in the business, been around and whatnot. So he asked this guy, his name is Rex Gill. There's been a lot of bad publicity in Rex Gill lately, and as far as I'm concerned, and it should be, and I made sure that information got out on him because of what I figured out. Rex Gill, he asked Rex Gill to book his locker room. Now, anybody that knows Muncie knows that there's key players in Muncie for the wrestling scene. You got your Mr. Smiley, you got your Rodney Pitbull Foltz, you got Insane Wayne, you got your Cutters, and you got, guys that help. You got myself, that's Muncie natives, that everybody knows that draws in Muncie. Well, Rex Gill did not book any of those guys besides Cutter and Wayne, and all is from Illinois. After the show was said and done, and I saw, which Terry did a great job because obviously Rex did not promote at all, because he was from Illinois. Terry did a great little game at 175 people. Unfortunately, for the city of Muncie, they saw a mediocre to very bad show. So I asked Terry, I gave him a call. I said, hey, Terry, I said, you don't remember me, do you? And he's like, remember you? And then we started talking. He said, holy cow, I can't believe that's you, man. I knew you when you was a baby, and I know all your brothers and everything. So I talked to him. I said, I got a question for you, Terry. I said, and I'm sorry if I'm stepping over some lines or whatnot. I said, and if you don't want to tell me, you don't have to. I said, how much money did you make on your show? And he goes, huh? I said, how much money did you make on your show? And he goes, oh, I didn't make a dime. Rex told me that, after the locker room was paid and everything. And this is the two biggest names that was on, I say names lightly, the two biggest names, which one of them is an actual independent name around this area, which was Dick the Bruiser Jr. Right. And the Beast was the two people that I would say in the locker room got paid more than everybody else. Right. Those were the only two. And then you had all your normal independent wrestlers. I asked him, he said he didn't make nothing because Rex told him that after paying everybody and whatnot, it was a big show and, there wasn't anything left over. Which, one, if you're money is. And I said, if you don't think boys set it in the back and go, hey, man, he has 150 people there at this much a ticket, and some guys didn't get paid. So I said, Terry, he's like, now listen, he's like, Mike, he said that he had $350 in his ring and then $100 in his hotel, and then he paid himself $75. I said, whoa, what are you talking about, man? I said, let me get this straight. This guy's helping you put on a show, and he charged you $350, which you should have brought anyway. Said, then he charges you for $100 hotel rooms. I said, then he pays himself $75, even though some of the guys didn't get paid on the card. I said, that's not right. That's not right at all. How do you do that?
So that's I'm a little flabbergasted at that. Like,
well, dude, I lost my mind. I was like, are you kidding me? And like I said, Terry knows nothing of the inner working, so he didn't even know how much the boys were getting paid. So he took this guy's Rex Gill's word for it, which Rex Gill's wrestling name is All Star. And come to find out, just probably 3 days after I talked to Terry about this, Terry comes back and goes, right, I've been thinking about this, that's not right, I can't believe this. And then we find out that Rex Gill was propositioning underage and saying sexual things to them. And that females had been harassed sexually or at shows. So I sent Rex not a very nice message. It wasn't anything over the top. I just told Rex, I said, look, Rex, I said, you have until this time to send Terry whatever money you have left of his show, which he had told Terry he had $600 left. I said, you have till this time to send Terry his $600. I said, or I will make sure that you never run a show in Indiana, in Illinois, or in any other place ever again, and I will let everybody know what you did to Terry. So he never sent Terry his money. I made the phone calls and messages that I needed to. And as of right now, I don't know of a show going on with his name tied to it. He's changed his Facebook about 6 times now because people keeps finding them and sending them, bad messages because of, all the child things and everything. He's just a bad apple.
right.
He's a stain on the business, and he makes all of us look like idiots because of what he does. So from all of that, I tell Terry, I said, Terry, if you really want to run a wrestling show, I said, you're in my hometown. I said, there's not very many people that can run a wrestling show in Muncie, and that the other promoters that haven't ran in a while would be okay with. They still like to protect their area because, IPW had been around for 20 years. WWS was around for as long as Shadow was in Indiana. Moved out to Pennsylvania, and now it's back.
Right.
But they're very protective of their area, their territory. So I was like, I came from those guys. This is my home. I said, I think it'd be good. And he said, all right, Mike, let's do it. And so our very first show is February 18th.
Yeah, it's going to be, as I see here, it's the Mad Jack building in Muncie, right?
Absolutely. So we're doing the Bonheim Vengeance on Saturday 15th. It's the Mad Jack, which is 514 East Adams Street. The old Simba building has a big wind truck on a sign right out in front of it. You can't miss it. Anthony next, 10 months younger. We decided to put on the show back to the community of Muncie. They've been begging for wrestling. The Mad Jacks Center and building itself is a non-for-profit organization. We got a lot of sponsors that are that helping us out with it. JD Byrider and Teenage Sweeper and Mad Jacks himself are helping us out. We're looking at putting on a real good, family-friendly wrestling show for community in Muncie. We got everybody on the card from Muncie. We got Rodney. We got Rodney Bullfoltz. We got Insane Wayne, Mr. Smiley, Tommy Gage, Bobo Brazil Jr., Vinny Vachetti, myself, Cutter, Rampage Radisson, TJ Powers. We got the beautiful ladies, Dana Diva and Cash. Everybody knows that Dana Diva is Dice's daughter, so she is the Vegas. But we got all these people. You know, Josh Springman's going to be our commissioner, holding things down for us. And you know, ringside tickets sold out 3 days after we printed them. 3 days after, we had 70 of them, and they were gone. We have probably at least 250 tickets sold already, and still more being sold on a daily basis. It's going to be a huge show. We got Sight and Sound that is bringing out the lights and entrance ways. We got the city of Muncie coming out. We got a bunch of members of the city of Muncie coming out and checking it out. A lot of talk's been going around Muncie. They're considering us the next big events that's going on downtown. We just got so much going on. I'm in talks with 2 different fairgrounds right now to keep the shows going. You guys have been a huge help. Dave and you have been a huge help. You guys have been helping us out with promotional things, you know, with flyers, the whole 9 yards. You guys have been doing a great job. I really appreciate you guys. I couldn't ask to work up with that team.
No problem.
It's just one thing. I just want to press around to give them all that work for the last year on a consistent basis and give guys a place to work in front of a great big crowd. And I'm doing a battle royal for any guys that want to be on the show that I don't have booked in matches. You guys want to show up, I'm going to have a battle royal for the show. So anybody that wants to show up at all, get a hold of me on my Facebook, or reach out to the DCCW Indiana Facebook page. Talk to us. I'd be more than happy to get you booked in the battle royal.
Absolutely. And not to cut you off, of course, but if anybody perhaps wants to buy tickets, how would that do that?
So buy tickets, you can call 2 numbers. It's 765-215-358, which is my phone number, or you can call Terry Coons at 765-212-6090, or you can stop at JD Byrider right there in Muncie at 506 East McGalliard Road and ask for DCCW tickets. They're actually doing a 10-ticket giveaway, just like you guys are doing. They're doing a 10-ticket giveaway. If you stop in, put your application in to buy a car with them. You don't have to buy one. You just put your app in, and they will put you in the drawing for 10 tickets as well. Their phone number is 765-286-8000.
Wow. So there's quite a few ways for people out there to buy tickets. So if you ever have your tickets, know it now. Like I said, it's going to be a show. If you go to their Facebook page, visited their Facebook page, literally all you have to do is search DCCW, and it pops up. It's going to be a card, guys. We'll actually touch on that here in a second. But Mike, not to draw us away too far from the current conversation, but I couldn't help but notice on the card that you are on there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Didn't know if you...
I couldn't...
Go ahead.
What? Go ahead.
I was going to say, but I was looking at the card actually while we were talking and whatnot. I noticed you were on there. So I was just curious what we can expect from not just the show, but also your match as well.
I couldn't imagine having a wrestling show MC and not be on card. No, I don't want. I'm not one of those guys, and a lot of guys can contest to this, is that I'm not one of those guys that try to make everything about me. You know, that's my team. My team makes everything about him. But as, you know, the booker or the friend or, you know, whatnot, I don't do that. So this show is not going to be based around me. I can promise everybody that. This show is based around everybody. It's going to be, you know, everybody. I want everybody to have a storyline. I want everybody to have good matches. I want everybody to want to come back. I want everybody, or I want all the fans to want everybody to come back. I want to be a ground where people want to come into our promotion and be a part of things. And, to get their feet wet in the promotion, or some veterans that want to get the promotion because that my match, it will be against Muncie favorite. It'll be against Rodney the Pitbull Fultz. He's been a Muncie favorite for a long time, and so I think that'll be a match that people will not want to miss. He's a very high-strung and physical person, so there's going to be a lot of excitement. You got Cutter and TJ. They're wrestling for the DCCW heavyweight title. You got Vinny Vachetti. He's wrestling a guy by the name of Bobby Sexton. Bobby Sexton is trying to make his name. It's great business. He's very new to wrestling, and he's going to have a very hard time getting through Vinny Vachetti. You got Tommy Gage versus Gunnar Lee, which Gunnar Lee's been part of the scene for a couple years now, has been very many places out, and he's trying to make his name, which, once again, he'll have a hard time making a name through Tommy Gage as well. Mr. Lee will be in action. Scarecrow will be in action. And tag team action, actually. Insane Wayne is taking on a guy named Split Rail, which is probably the same size as Insane Wayne. So that's going to be a big clash of the Titans right there. And of course, you got Bobo Brazil Jr. He will be in action come that night. A lot of special things are happening. It's going to be a show that you don't want to miss because it'll roll right over into our March as well.
And actually, I was going to ask next. Obviously, you did a lot of promotions of this show coming out here in February. You guys have a lot going. So what does the future of DCC look like? What does the future of King come onward?
Man, we're looking at doing shows once a month. So that's a year. We have the possibility of 2 fair shows coming up as well. We're going to have a lot of different talent coming in and out of the company. We're going to have a lot of the guys that everybody wants to see that's already been big stage and back. Former WWE, WCW, TNA wrestlers coming in. I got a lot of calls out with them guys and talking with them on a daily basis. We're looking to stay alive and build. I mean, that's our whole point, is keep a building, keep a place for all of our guys to work and keep a good running wrestling show for the community of Muncie. Mike King, future in the wrestling business and future in promoting and whatnot, I promise everybody I will ride it until it stops. I promise that. As far as I can go and as much as I can do for everybody and as far as I can take it, I've been doing a lot of talks with a lot of guys that have been there and back, and been getting a lot of hints and a lot of knowledge from them and some help from them. You never know where you might see me pop up at.
So I guess kind of what you point out into a little bit, because obviously we have also we had an amazing show coming up in February, which I'm really excited for. Like you said, Muncie has a lot of wrestling up here. I moved to 97, but I haven't seen much of anything. I'm very excited to see wrestling where I live now. So Muncie native, very excited for that. And I'm excited for Muncie as well, for everybody else to hear. But I guess one last thing for you. I mean, we know how we can get a hold of DCCW, but where can fans follow you personally on? Do you have any Facebook, Twitter, or anything like that that fans can keep up with you at?
Yeah, absolutely. My Facebook is under my shoot name, so it's under JRD. And then I do have an Instagram and a Twitter. My Instagram is under. Give me 1 second, actually, I believe. It's under Mike King K. You can find on there, and on my Twitter, which is a new thing for me, didn't jump out. So I am at Real Mike King 1 on Twitter. Please follow me, give me some shares and likes, and get everybody else to follow me as well. I'm trying to make a big push this year, so anything will definitely help.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So first and foremost, before I get into my little end spiel here, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to talk to us about the show and talk to us about your career, most importantly. So we definitely appreciate you taking the time to even talk to us. That's 100% appreciated.
Oh man, thank you enough for being a part of everything, for reaching out to me, and we did this just a few months ago, and Rob passed away, and that was a hard thing to deal with, and you guys reached out and had that conversation about Rob, and and got to let me share some stories about Rob, and that meant a lot to me. And then for you guys to reach out to me and, want to be a part of DCCW and help out and want to be there, you got to be there on scene at DCCW, which is going to be awesome. And, and calling me and asking me about my career and my life and everything. It means a lot to me too.
No, absolutely. And we're more than happy to talk to you. And like you said, we're super excited to be there. For any out there, everyone meet me or Dave will be there, of course. I don't know who would want to meet us, but no, so for anybody out there who hasn't bought a ticket, who doesn't know what's going on right now, go on Facebook, search Mike King, search up DCW, give a call to those numbers, go to JB right here monthly, get a ticket, be at the show because it's going to be amazing. And check out our Facebook, Dave Dynasty Show. We've been sharing a lot of stuff about this, and like he said, we are also giving away tickets. So go to our Facebook, and you can see how that works and how to get that done. But I think that's pretty much going to do it for right now. Again, Mike, couldn't be more thankful for you coming on the show and talking to us again. And we'll see you soon, hopefully, and hopefully everything goes well. But you stay safe between now and then.
Absolutely, you guys too. And just remember, guys, the tickets that we're selling right now, they're intermission, and they're only 1 penny more than WWE Network. It's $10. It's not sorry, but it is $10. But grab a $10 ticket, check out. I promise you won't. You got that shit.
You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase. All right, and we are back with the Dave Dynasty Show. Thank you for listening this week. Thank you to Jacob, the Carpetbagger, and Mike King for coming on the show today. Make sure you get out and attend all those shows that we mentioned earlier, or whatever you can have in your area. But specifically, make sure you go out on February 16th in Muncie, Indiana, to Decatur County Championship Wrestling, see Mike King, and then on May 11th, Supreme Wrestling in Madison, Indiana, to see Jacob, the Carpetbagger. But support independent wrestling in your area, wherever you are, and however you listen to our show. And we are on all podcast platforms, so whichever you choose to do so, please make sure you subscribe to us there, like us, review, share the episodes. All that helps greatly with our exposure and all the logarithms and all those things that are out there. And you can go to DaveDynasty.com, find links to all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. It's all right there. Go to DaveDynasty.com. At the top, you find all the links. There's also links there, buttons to click, where you can help support the show and keep us free every week for you. At the top and in the middle there's buttons for ProWrestlingTees.com/The Dave Dynasty. You can buy a shirt and help support the show. We got some cool shirts up there, including ones with Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. and Izzy Slabowitz, so check those out. There's also buttons there where you can make one-time financial contributions to the show at paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty, or an ongoing monthly contribution at patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty. So we appreciate that. Anything you can give, even if it's a couple bucks, it helps keep the show operating for free. There are expenses involved, and we appreciate your help and your support in doing so. Make sure you stay active with us on all those social media links. I'm always posting all kinds of cool stuff, pictures, clippings, video clips, whatever it may be. There's always cool stuff on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So make sure you like us there, share that stuff, and help spread the Midwest Express movement. We're here to support Midwest professional wrestling and its history and the current product. So help us do that. Give us feedback and ratings and reviews on iTunes and all that stuff. That's how we help grow and improve the show. We got some great guests coming up in the week, so I'm not going to really mention any names. I'm kind of a strong believer in karma like that. I'm afraid if I drop too much before I have those recorded, something will happen and I'll jinx myself. So watch the social media this week. We'll make those announcements. We got some really cool guests, people that do not do podcasts. We're going to have on. They got a lot of cool stuff to tell. You're going to enjoy it. We're diving really a lot here in the next few weeks into history. Everybody likes those historical episodes we do where we talk about stuff and talk about people from the past and people that were involved in these histories and them telling their stories. And we're going to do that in the next few weeks. So make sure you subscribe to us so you do not miss an episode. We'll see you next week. Thank you again for joining us on this ride and on this episode. I am Dave Dynasty. This is the Dave Dynasty Show. And until next week, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.